Leviticus 25, the year the chains shatter, the earth remembers. Part 1, the land belongs to Yah. You think this system of rent, mortgage, and eviction is permanent? Nah. You moving like judgment ain't outside your front door in 2026. Walking around with your head down, staring at your phone while they foreclose on your block and auction off your grandmother's house to some faceless corporation. Listen, this ain't a classroom lecture, and this ain't Sunday plantation programming. This is street revelation, dropped straight from the Most High to scattered Israel. And you better wake your mind up before you find yourself out on a cold-ass pavement with nothing but your bags. Look at your lease. Look at your eviction notice taped to the door. Look at your property taxes eating your paycheck alive. Yah spoke unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. You hear that? The land itself gets a day off from your greedy-ass exploitation. But you motherfuckers out here grinding 60 hours a week at a warehouse scan gun just to make rent for a landlord who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. They sold you a dream of property ownership, but you are just renting cages on stolen turf. Look at your rent receipts. Look at your Section 8 letter. Look at your HOA fine stacking up while you slave away for paper money that loses value every damn day. And how does Yah set the clock? 6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard, and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field, nor prune thy vineyard. That is the architecture of creation right there. Not your corporate fiscal calendars, not your stock market salvation, not your 401k false hope that leaves you broke at 65. You've been conditioned to grind until your bones turn to dust, while these blood money banks siphon every cent out of your pocket. Look at your pay stub. Look at your tax withholdings. Look at your retirement account bleeding dry while inflation eats your groceries alive. They got you trapped in a debt-shackled discipleship where you spend your whole life paying off interest to wicked men who hate your guts. But in the 7th year, the land breathes. No plowing, no planting, no sweating for a boss man who views you as disposable labor. And what happens when the land rests on its own? That which groweth of his own accord. Of thy harvest thou shalt not reap, neither gather the grapes of thy vine undressed. For it is a year of rest unto the land. You see it now? Yah provides without your hustle, without your corporate ladder climbing, without your hustle culture idolatry. But you wouldn't know nothing about that because you've been brainwashed by a prosperity pimp pulpit that tells you to sow seeds into a building fund while your own kids eat cheap-ass noodles. Look at your grocery receipt. Look at your EBT balance. Look at the empty refrigerator in your kitchen while the preachers drive foreign cars and wear tailored suits bought with your hard-earned tithes. That tithe trap theology is a con game designed to keep you broke and dependent on their oppressive system. Peep this, because it gets deeper. And the Sabbath of the land shall be meat for you, for thee, and for thy servant, and for thy maid, and for thy hired servant, and for thy stranger that sojourneth with thee, and for thy cattle, and for the beasts that are in thy land, shall all the increase thereof be meat. Yah's economy feeds everybody, the poor, the laborer, the sojourner, even the animals, while your modern capitalist hellscape lets children starve in the richest cities on the globe. Look at your local food bank line wrapped around the block. Look at the homeless encampments under the bridge. Look at your neighbor sleeping in their car because their credit score covenant got destroyed by medical debt. You think America cares about you? America is Babylon in a cheap suit, grinding your flesh into dust to fund empire children theology and foreign wars. They got you worshiping a pale empire religion that tells you to turn the other cheek while they put a knee on your neck and call it law and order. And how long is the cycle? And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years. And the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. 49 years of counting down to the ultimate reset, while you motherfuckers are out here stressing over a 30-year fixed mortgage like it's a blessing from heaven. Look at your mortgage bondage ministry. Look at your bank statements. Look at the interest rates choking the life out of your bloodline. They got you locked into generational debt before your kids even learn how to spell their own names. You inherited a stolen name and a borrowed religion, wearing another man's faith like a hand-me-down, while your real heritage rots in the dirt. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month, and the day of atonement shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. The shofar blast on the day of atonement, the sound that breaks every yoke, cancels every debt, and shatters every chain. But you ain't hearing shofars on your block. You hearing police sirens, ambulance cries, and gunshots ringing out in the middle of the night, while the surveillance state scripture records every move you make on their street cameras. Look at your ankle monitor. Look at your probation officer's number in your phone. Look at your criminal record from a kangaroo court designed to funnel black and brown bodies straight into the prison industrial complex. They replaced the trumpet of liberty with the wail of police cruisers and prison sirens. And ye shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family. Liberty, real liberty, not the fake-ass freedom they parade in front of you every 4th of July, while your people are still locked in cages across this wicked land. Look at your cousin in the county jail. Look at your nephew doing life on a bullshit plea deal. Look at the foster system stealing your nieces and nephews away from broken homes. Every man returns to his possession. Every man returns to his family. But your family been scattered to the 4 winds by slave ships, broken up on auction blocks, and separated by generational trauma that you treat like culture. You celebrating Thanksgiving and Christmas like good little plantation hands, clapping for your own chains and dancing in the pews of a church that worships the image of your kidnapper. A jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. Ye shall not sow, neither reap that which groweth of itself in it, nor gather the grapes in it of thy vine undressed. Total reset. The land rests, the people rest, the books are wiped clean, and nobody gets to lord their wealth over their brother anymore. But try telling that to these vulture landlords, buying up every single family home in your neighborhood with private equity cash, turning your childhood block into overpriced rentals where you can't even afford to breathe. Look at your rent hike notice. Look at your gentrified neighborhood where the corner store got replaced by a vegan coffee shop that charges $8 for a cup of dirt. They priced you out of your own streets, and you still sitting in your feelings talking about how racism is over because you saw a black face on a billboard. For it is the Jubilee, it shall be holy unto you. Ye shall eat the increase thereof out of the field. Holy unto you, not holy unto Wall Street, not holy unto Washington, not holy unto the Vatican or the state capitol. Holiness belongs to Yah, but you traded it for a bowl of corporate pottage and a paycheck that vanishes before the weekend even starts. Look at your gas pump. Look at your utility shutoff notice. Look at your water bill doubling while toxic waste leaks into the pipes of your housing project. They poisoning your water, pumping your food full of garbage chemicals through pharmaceutical piety, and keeping you sick so the medical industrial complex can bleed your insurance dry. In the year of this Jubilee, you shall return every man unto his possession. Return to your possession. But you don't even know what your possession is because your history was wiped out by slave ship theology and white Jesus propaganda. You think your roots start on a cotton plantation in Mississippi or a sugarcane field in the Caribbean, But your bloodline goes back to kings and prophets before the nations ever learned how to write a law. Look at your last name, some slave master's tag, handed down like cattle branding. You walking around bearing the name of the man who whipped your great-great-grandfather, and you act like brand new when somebody tells you to drop it and pick up your true identity. You wildin' out here, defending the very system that erased your language, your culture, and your God. And Yah is about to crack the sky wide open, and all your credit scores, all your degrees from diploma mill HBCUs, all your corporate titles ain't gonna save you from the wrath that's headed down the pipeline. Part 2, the harvest of liberty and the bread of wrath. You think the ground owes you a living just because you busted your ass for a boss who wouldn't piss on you if you were burning alive? Nah. Look at your grocery receipt. Look at your EBT balance. Look at the empty refrigerator in your kitchen while the preachers drive foreign cars bought with your hard-earned tithes. And what happens when the Jubilee year hits and the food just grows wild in the dirt? Leviticus chapter 25 verse 12 tells you straight up, "For it is the Jubilee, it shall be holy unto you. Ye shall eat the increase thereof out of the field." Holy unto you. Not holy unto Wall Street, not holy unto Washington, not holy unto the Vatican or the state capitol. Holiness belongs to Yah, but you traded it for a bowl of corporate pottage and a paycheck that vanishes before the weekend even starts, while the grocery chains rake in record profits and throw away tons of food in locked dumpsters while your kids go to bed with empty stomachs. Look at your gas pump. Look at your utility shutoff notice. Look at your water bill doubling while toxic waste leaks into the pipes of your housing project. They poisoning your water, pumping your food full of garbage chemicals through pharmaceutical piety, and keeping you sick so the medical industrial complex can bleed your insurance dry. You think America cares about you? America is Babylon in a cheap suit, grinding your flesh into dust to fund empire children theology and foreign wars, leaving you to scavenge for scraps while they hoard the harvest. That ain't random. They planned that. They engineered that grocery monopoly to keep your neck in a chokehold from birth to the grave, making you pay top dollar for the very food the earth produces for free under Yah's law. Look at your local food bank line wrapped around the block. Look at the homeless encampments under the bridge. Look at your neighbors sleeping in their car because their credit score covenant got destroyed by medical debt. You think you're free because you got a car note and a credit card? You're a wage slave in a digital plantation, and every bite of food you eat is taxed by a beast system that hates your guts. And when that Jubilee trumpet blows, it ain't just a symbol for Sunday morning shouting. It is the absolute restoration of every lost inheritance you fools traded away for a pair of Jordans and a cable bill. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 13 says, "In the year of this Jubilee, ye shall return every man unto his possession." Return to your possession. But you don't even know what your possession is because your history was wiped out by slave ship theology and white Jesus propaganda, leaving you wandering around these concrete jungles like a ghost in your own land. Look at your last name, some slave master's tag handed down like cattle branding, stamped on your birth certificate like a receipt of ownership. You walking around bearing the name of the man who whipped your great-great-grandfather, and you act brand new when somebody tells you to drop it and pick up your true identity. You wildin' out here defending the very system that erased your language, your culture, and your God, arguing on social media for the honor of nations that put your ancestors in chains. They sold you a dream of assimilation, but you inherited a nightmare with a bow on it, cheering for your own replacement while your neighborhoods get gentrified right out from under you. Look at your gentrified neighborhood where the corner store got replaced by a vegan coffee shop that charges $8 for a cup of dirt, pushing your grandmama out of the house she lived in for 50 years. They priced you out of your own streets with predatory zoning and property tax hikes. And you still sitting in your feelings talking about how racism is over because you saw a black face on a billboard. You got played by a system that packaged the lie pretty and polished the chain until you couldn't even see the rust anymore. But check the contract, because Yah didn't set up this earth for you to be extorted by your neighbor until the end of time. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 14 hits you with the policy. And if thou sell aught unto thy neighbor, or buyest aught of thy neighbor's hand, ye shall not oppress one another. You hear that? No oppression, no gouging, no sliding scale of exploitation based on how desperate a man is to feed his family. But look at your block. Look at the payday loan spots on every corner of the hood, charging 300% interest to desperate people just trying to keep the lights on. Look at the slumlord charging $2,000 a month for a roach-infested apartment with black mold creeping up the walls while he sits in a gated community in the suburbs living off your misery. They programmed you to survive by preying on each other because the overarching system preyed on them first, turning the hood into a circular firing squad where brother shoots brother over block turf while the real enemy sits back and counts the body count. You got bootleg store owners and foreign merchants setting up shop in your neighborhoods, taking your money out of the community and treating your mothers and sisters like garbage while you spend your dollars there every damn day. That debt-shackled discipleship taught you to hustle your own people, selling each other poison in plastic bags and fake dreams in pulpits, all because you forgot how to deal with your neighbor according to righteous law. You think that's just business? Nah, that was a calculated setup by a colonization doctrine designed to fracture Israel so thoroughly we'd never unify long enough to demand our real possession back. And how does the price get calculated when things change hands in Yah's system? Leviticus chapter 25 verse 15 lays out the math. According to the number of years after the Jubilee, thou shalt buy of thy neighbor, and according unto the number of years of the fruits he shall sell unto thee. It's tied to the timing of redemption, not the arbitrary greed of a stock market speculator who inflates housing prices just to watch families lose their equity. Look at the housing crash. Look at the foreclosure crisis, where big banks swept in and bought up millions of single-family homes for pennies on the dollar, turning the American dream into an eternal renting nightmare. They rigged the game so time works against you, where every year you stay in debt pulls you deeper into insolvency, while their portfolios swell with your stolen sweat. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 16 keeps breaking down the ledger. According to the multitude of years, thou shalt increase the price thereof, and according to the fewness of years, thou shalt diminish the price of it. For according to the number of the years of the fruits doth he sell unto thee. Value is based on actual yield and proximity to the reset, not on speculative bubbles and artificial inflation designed to keep the poor landless forever. But your whole life is run by a credit score covenant where your human worth is reduced to a 3-digit number generated by algorithms controlled by 3 faceless corporations. Look at your credit report. Look at your background check. Look at how one missed car payment or medical emergency drops your score and locks you out of a decent apartment, forcing you to pay slumlord prices. You've been profiled, tagged, cataloged, and filed away by an algorithm altar that treats your bloodline like a liability on a balance sheet. They trained you to worship that credit score like an idol, stressing over points and tiers, while the system keeps moving the goalposts so you can never actually buy your way out of bondage. Then Yah drops the hammer to make sure nobody misses the point of the economic structure. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 17 commands, Ye shall not therefore oppress one another, but thou shalt fear thy God, for I am the Lord your God. Fear Yah, not the landlord, not the bank, not the judge sitting on a bench in a black robe enforcing maritime admiralty laws against your body. Look at your court docket. Look at your probation officer. Look at your sentencing guidelines, where a nonviolent drug offense gets you 20 years, while white-collar thieves walk away with government bailouts and talk shows. That badge and Bible hypocrisy is staggering. Men swearing on a book they don't even believe in, while they sign paperwork sending your cousin to a concrete box for the rest of his natural life. You shaking in your boots before earthly magistrates, while you completely disregard the Creator who holds your very breath in his hand, walking around like judgment ain't outside your front door in 2026. You got pastors in pulpits telling you to submit to every wicked decree of a corrupt government, preaching a Caesar worship garbage gospel that tells you the law was done away with so you can pay your taxes and shut your mouth. That prosperity pimp pulpit is funded by the same blood money banks that foreclose on your block, and you sitting in the pews clapping for a man who was selling your soul for a building fund. Knock it off. Wake your mind up and realize that oppression isn't just a political issue, it's spiritual treason against the Most High. And every time you step on your brother to get ahead, you're doing the enemy's work for free. And what's the reward if you actually stop playing games and follow the blueprint? Leviticus chapter 25 verse 18 tells you the outcome. Wherefore ye shall do my statutes and keep my judgments and do them, and ye shall dwell in the land in safety. Safety. Real safety. Not the kind of gated community safety where private security guards profile your kids for walking down the street with a hoodie on, but actual divine protection where you don't have to look over your shoulder every time you step out of your house. Look at your neighborhood right now. Police sirens wailing every 10 minutes. Helicopters shining spotlights through your living room window. Gunshots ringing out over arguments that shouldn't even exist. That ain't safety. That's an open-air detention camp disguised as a municipality, where you're surrounded on all sides by a surveillance state, tracking every text, every purchase, every movement you make. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 19 doubles down on the promise. And the land shall yield her fruit, and ye shall eat your fill, and dwell therein in safety. Eat your fill. No food deserts in the hood, where the only thing you can buy within walking distance is processed poison from a liquor store shelf. No synthetic additives and lab-grown meat engineered to rot your organs, while the pharmaceutical giants sell you pills to manage the symptoms. Look at your grandmama's medicine cabinet, overflowing with 20 different prescription bottles for high blood pressure, diabetes, and arthritis, all caused by the toxic garbage they pump into our communities. That pharmaceutical piety is a witchcraft system that keeps you sick, dependent, and broke until they plant you in the dirt. You think that's accidental? That ain't coincidence. That was by design, mapped out by a serpent seed curriculum that decided your bloodline was too dangerous to let live in health and strength. So what happens when human doubt creeps in and questions how y'all's economy is supposed to work without the hustle? Leviticus chapter 25 verse 20 brings up the inevitable panic. And if ye shall say, what shall we eat the 7th year? Behold, we shall not sow, nor gather in our increase. That's the voice of modern day panic. The terror you feel when you look at your bank account and realize you got $3 to your name and rent is due in 48 hours. Look at your pay stub. Look at your overtime hours. Look at the gig apps running you ragged from dawn until midnight just to keep up with inflation and gas prices. You moving like you got time, working yourself into an early grave because you're terrified that if you stop grinding for 1 second, the whole house of cards collapses. You've been conditioned to believe that your survival depends entirely on your own sweat, trusting the corporate ladder more than you trust the Creator who made the trees and the soil. Look at your student loans hanging over your head like a guillotine, keeping you trapped in a cubicle doing meaningless paperwork for a company that will replace you by Monday morning if you drop dead at your desk. They trained you to swallow that hustle culture lie. making you feel guilty for resting, making you feel lazy if you take a Sabbath, because an exhausted, stressed out Israelite is an obedient, compliant slave who won't ever look up long enough to organize a revolt. But Yah don't operate on Wall Street timelines or corporate payroll cycles, and his response to your panic is absolute. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 21 declares, "Then I will command my blessing upon you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. 3 years of provision packed into one harvest, enough to sustain you through the fallow land when every worldly economist tells you you should be starving in the streets. But you can't fathom that kind of surplus because your whole life has been defined by scarcity, ration stamps, budget cuts, and government cheese lines. Look at your food stamps. Look at your EBT balance. Look at how they manage your poverty, like zookeepers throwing scraps to caged animals, while the billionaire class hoards trillions in offshore accounts. They engineered that scarcity to keep you desperate, because a desperate man won't ask questions about who stole his land. He'll just fight his brother for a crumb." Leviticus chapter 25 verse 22 completes the cycle. "And ye shall sow the 8th year, and eat yet of old fruit until the 9th year. Until her fruits come in, ye shall eat of the old store." Old store, lasting right through the transition. A bridge of abundance that bypasses the famine altogether. But you've been so brainwashed by cheap grace con artists and tithe trap theology that you think Yah's blessings only come after you give your last 20 bucks to a preacher's building fund. Look at your church background. Look at the emotional manipulation in those Sunday morning services where they play organ music and make you cry so you'll empty your pockets for men who live in mansions. That plantation theology taught you to look to the sky for pie in the sky when you die, while white-collar thieves rob you blind right here on earth. Wake your mind up out of that commentary coma and realize that Yah's provision is physical, tangible, and designed for this earth, not some vaporous ghost existence in the clouds. The land doesn't belong to the bank. It doesn't belong to the state. And it damn sure doesn't belong to the fake Jew squatters currently occupying the holy soil with American weapons and UN protection. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 23 drops the ultimate title deed. "The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for ye are strangers and sojourners with me." You hear that? The title deed is held by the Most High, and every real estate contract, every mortgage deed, every colonial land grab is legally null and void in the court of heaven. Look at your eviction notice taped to the door. Look at the sheriff standing on your porch with a badge and a gun, ready to throw your belongings onto the concrete because you missed one mortgage payment to a bank that created the money out of thin air. That deed and title deception is the foundation of the entire global empire, built on stolen turf from indigenous nations and sustained by the blood and sweat of scattered Israel. They sold you a dream of home ownership through 30-year mortgage bondage, locking you into debt servitude for a patch of dirt that belongs to Yah, while they draw borders with guns and ink on stolen maps. Look at your property tax statement. Look at how you never truly owned anything in Babylon, because if you stop paying tribute to Caesar for 3 years, they take the land right back. You are a tenant in your own inheritance, paying rent to your kidnappers, walking around with amnesia about who you are and where you come from. But the redemption clause is already written into the law. And when Yah executes it, every fraudulent title deed on this flat earth is going up in smoke. And that redemption ain't waiting for some future rapture escape hatch. It's operational right now in the spirit and soon in the flesh. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 24 seals the mandate. "And in all the land of your possession, ye shall grant a redemption for the land." Redemption for the land. Redemption for the bloodline. Redemption for the names that were stolen when we walked down the gangplank of those slave ships. Look at your family tree, or what's left of it, cut off at the census of 1870 because the plantation owners didn't even bother to record our ancestors' full names, just listed them as livestock next to the mules and the plows. Look at your cousin in the county jail. Look at your nephew on the corner with an ankle monitor buzzing against his shin. Look at your niece in the foster system, bouncing from broken home to broken home. That's the fragmented family, the scattered seed of Israel, torn apart by a system that profits off our destruction and calls it law and order. You think you can heal that with a seminar or a protest sign? Nah, it takes the power of Yah to break the yoke, to shatter the cage, and to bring every last scattered sheep back to the fold where we belong. And when that redemption hits, every nation that had a hand in our scattering is going to drink the cup of fury down to the bitter dregs, with no bailouts, no appeals, and no mercy. The trumpet is getting ready to sound again, and you better decide right now whether you standing with Babylon or standing with Yah, because the middle ground is burning down to ash. Part 3. The land belongs to Yah. You think you own that deed because your name is printed on some wet ink document from a county clerk who's been dead for 50 years? Nah, you moving like judgment ain't outside your front door in 2026, walking around with your chest poked out because you making 40 grand a year at a warehouse scan gun, while the real estate sharks carve up your entire block. Listen, Leviticus chapter 25 verse 23 drops the legal hammer right on your thick skull. The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for ye are strangers and sojourners with me. You hear that? You are squatting in a rental unit run by a beast system that's going to evict every last one of you when Yah comes down to collect. Look at your eviction notice taped to the door. Look at the sheriff standing on your porch with a badge and a gun, ready to throw your belongings onto the concrete because you missed one mortgage payment to a bank that created the money out of thin air. That deed and title deception is the foundation of the entire global empire, built on stolen turf from indigenous nations and sustained by the blood and sweat of scattered Israel. They sold you a dream of home ownership through 30-year mortgage bondage, locking you into debt servitude for a patch of dirt that belongs to Yah, while they draw borders with guns and ink on stolen maps. Look at your property tax statement. Look at how you never truly own anything in Babylon, because if you stop paying tribute to Caesar for 3 years, they take the land right back. You are a tenant in your own inheritance, paying rent to your kidnappers, walking around with amnesia about who you are and where you come from. But the redemption clause is already written into the law, and when Yah executes it, every fraudulent title deed on this flat earth is going up in smoke. Check it. Look at the headlines right now in 2026, where corporate private equity firms are buying up whole neighborhoods in Atlanta, Chicago, and Detroit, turning American cities into permanent landlord fiefdoms where our people are squeezed for every dime until they're tossed onto the street. That ain't an accident. That was by design. A calculated play by Babylon agents to keep you landless and broke from the cradle to the grave. And what about their redemption clause? Leviticus chapter 25 verse 24 seals the mandate. And in all the land of your possession, ye shall grant a redemption for the land. Redemption for the land. Redemption for the bloodline. Redemption for the names that were stolen when we walked down the gangplank of those slave ships. Look at your family tree, or what's left of it, cut off at the census of 1870 because the plantation owners didn't even bother to record our ancestors' full names, just listed them next to the mules and the plows. Look at your cousin in the county jail. Look at your nephew in the corner with an ankle monitor buzzing against his shin. Look at your niece in the foster system, bouncing from broken home to broken home. That's the fragmented family, the scattered seed of Israel, torn apart by a system that profits off our destruction and calls it law and order. You think you can heal that with a seminar or a protest sign? Nah, it takes the power of Yah to break the yoke, to shatter the cage, and to bring every last scattered sheep back to the fold where we belong. And when that redemption hits, every nation that had a hand in our scattering is going to drink the cup of fury down to the bitter dregs, with no bailouts, no appeals, and no mercy. The trumpet is getting ready to sound again, and you better decide right now whether you're standing with Babylon or standing with Yah, because the middle ground is burning down to ash. Look at your local news today. Look at the family court dockets overflowing with child custody battles and broken homes where the state acts as surrogate father to your children, tearing your bloodline apart piece by piece through bureaucratic warfare. They programmed you for this, grooming generations of Israelite families to rely on government assistance instead of family solidarity, replacing the Most High's order with state-sponsored dependency. Peep this, because the law gets down in the dirt where your broken family actually lives. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 25 spells it out plain. If thy brother be waxing poor and have sold away some of his possession, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother sold. Kinship redemption. Not government bailouts, not corporate charity, not a GoFundMe page set up because your auntie died of cancer and you can't afford a pine box. Look at your GoFundMe feed. Look at your family group chat begging for funeral money. Look at how your whole bloodline is one paycheck away from total financial ruin because you don't even know who your cousins are outside of a 2-block radius. They scattered us to the 4 winds on slave ships, severed our ties, and left us to drown in isolation, while the blood money banks and predatory lenders picked our bones clean. You got families fighting each other over scraps in probate court, while billionaires hoard trillions in offshore accounts. And you sitting there defending the very capitalist hellscape that keeps your people begging in the dirt. Look at the foreclosure crisis in your own family, where your grandmama's house got snatched by a reverse mortgage scam because she needed to pay for prescription drugs that the pharmaceutical piety syndicate poisoned her with in the first place. That ain't random. They planned that. They targeted our elderly, stripped them of their equity, and turned generational wealth into generational poverty while you were too busy scrolling on your phone to notice the roof caving in. And if there's no family left to step up, Leviticus chapter 25, verse 26 brings the hard reality. And if the man have none to redeem it, and himself be able to redeem it. Look at you out here working 60 hours a week on gig apps, driving for Uber until your eyes bleed, delivering bags for Amazon until your back gives out, trying to scrape together enough cash to buy your way out of the gutter. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 27 keeps the ledger rolling. Then let him count the years of the sale thereof, and restore the overplus unto the man to whom he sold it, that he may return unto his possession. A fair accounting, a righteous readjustment based on the passage of time and the actual yield, not the bloodthirsty compounding interest charged by these modern loan sharks and credit card companies. Look at your credit report right now. Look at those predatory interest rates on your car note. Look at the 29% APR they're charging you for a clunker just so you can get to your dead-end job. You've been fleeced, harvested, and monetized by a credit score covenant that treats your life like a commodity to be traded on Wall Street. They got you trapped in a debt-shackled discipleship where every dollar you earn goes straight back into the pockets of the oppressor, leaving you with empty pockets and a broken spirit. Look at your student loan balance hanging over your head like a guillotine, keeping you shackled to a cubicle, doing meaningless paperwork for a corporation that will replace you by Monday morning if you drop dead at your desk. But what if you can't pay? What if the system keeps you so broke, so battered, and so destitute that redemption is completely out of reach? Leviticus chapter 25, verse 28 lays down the boundary. But if he be not able to restore it to him, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him that hath bought it until the year of Jubilee. And in the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return unto his possession. There is a hard stop on wickedness. there is a cosmic expiration date on oppression. No matter how much stolen property the enemy hoards, no matter how many deeds the banks lock away in their subterranean vaults, the Jubilee clock is ticking down, and when 50 years hit, every fraudulent title gets wiped off the board. But you motherfuckers out here acting like Babylon is gonna last forever, bowing down to politicians, begging for voting rights from the same government that put a target on your back, trusting a rigged ballot box to save you from a rigged system. Look at your local election results. Look at the mayors and councilmen who promise you the world and then gentrify your neighborhood the day after they take office, turning your childhood streets into luxury condos where you can't even afford to buy a cup of coffee. You got played by a system that packaged the lie pretty and polished the chain until you couldn't even see the rust anymore. And the law draws a sharp line between the country field and the walled city, exposing how Babylon operates as urban fortresses. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 29 cuts right through the urban sprawl. And if a man sell a dwelling house in a walled city, then he may redeem it within a whole year after it is sold. Within a full year may he redeem it. 1 year to buy it back in the concrete jungle. And after that, Leviticus chapter 25 verse 30 delivers the cold verdict. And if it be not redeemed within the space of a full year, then the house that is in the walled city shall be established forever to him that bought it throughout his generations. It shall not go out in the Jubilee. In the walled city, the metropolis, the urban beast system where you're packed in like rats in a housing project or a luxury high-rise. If you lose your footing, the house stays with the buyer forever. That urban trap is permanent under human rule. Look at your housing project. Look at the concrete canes of New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, where generation after generation of our people rent the same roach-infested walls from slumlords who wouldn't spend a dime to fix the mold or the lead paint. You think living in the city is freedom? The city is a cage, a fortified plantation where the walls are made of zoning laws, redlining maps, and property taxes designed to lock you out of land ownership forever. Look at your redlining maps from the 1950s that still dictate where your kids go to school today, where the funding is stripped, the books are garbage, and the classrooms look more like pretrial detention centers than places of learning. That education system is a diploma mill designed to turn your sons into prison statistics and your daughters into cash cows for the state, keeping you trapped in the walled city with no way out. But look at how Yah protects the open land and the villages where our people were meant to live. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 31 draws the contrast. But the houses of the villages, which have no wall round about them, shall be counted as the fields of the country. They may be redeemed, and they shall go out in the Jubilee. Unwalled villages, open land, places connected to the earth, those go back in the Jubilee. The earth remembers its owners, even if you forgot your own name. But you traded the open fields for the concrete plantation, rushing to the inner cities for industrial jobs that shipped overseas 20 years ago, leaving you stranded in urban deserts with no infrastructure, no grocery stores, and no future. Look at your grocery receipt. Look at your EBT balance. Look at the corner store selling stale chips and poisoned meat while fresh produce is miles away in a neighborhood that looks nothing like yours. You think that's an accident? That was by design. Engineered by food monopolies and zoning boards that treat your community like a containment zone for cheap labor and expendable bodies. And then look at the Levites, the dedicated servants who didn't inherit standard land tracts but had their own eternal provisions. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 32 breaks down their status. Notwithstanding, the cities of the Levites and the houses of the cities of their possession may the Levites redeem at any time. A special provision for the sacred ministry, because Yah's order has its own security that bypasses the secular calendar. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 33 locks it in. And if a man purchase of the Levites, then the house that was sold, and the city of his possession shall go out in the year of Jubil. For the houses of the cities of the Levites are their possession among the children of Israel. Even what the Levites touch returns, because the Most High preserves his house against the greed of the nations. But look at your modern pulpits. Look at these prosperity pimp preachers living in multi-million-dollar mansions while you sitting in a rented apartment wondering how you're going to pay for your light bill next week. That tithe trap theology got you funding private jets for men who wouldn't cross the street to help your mama pay for her insulin. You walking around with a Bible in your hand, quoting verses you don't understand, listening to a pastor who sold his soul to a seminary spell and a doctorate deception, preaching a watered-down, Caesar worship garbage gospel that tells you to submit to your oppressors. Knock it off. Wake your mind up out of that commentary coma and realize that while you're funding their cathedral syndicates, your own bloodline is starving on the corner. Yah didn't set up a ministry for pimps in tailored suits. He set up a nation of priests, and every single one of you traded your royal robe for a plantation uniform. Now, in part 4, we're going to get into how Yah commands you to treat your brother when he falls into total ruin right beside you on this concrete slab. Part 4, the perpetual possession and the broken bondman. You think this is the end of the debt? Nah. That field outside the city gates, the suburbs where the Levites park their tents, Leviticus chapter 25, verse 34, drops the hammer right on your head. But the field of the suburbs of their cities may not be sold, for it is their perpetual possession. Perpetual, unsellable, locked down by divine decree, so that nobody can ever foreclose on the heritage of Yah's ministers. But look at your block today. Look at the urban renewal projects where city councils and private developers stole your grandparents' homes through eminent domain, bulldozed your neighborhoods, and built luxury condominiums and sports stadiums that you need a VIP badge just to walk past. They stole your suburbs. They stole your downtowns. They stole the very dirt your feet stand on, and you are sitting there paying rent to the same bastards who evicted your bloodline out of house and home. That ain't an accident. That was by design. They planned that. They seeded that. They programmed that whole con from the jump so that you would wander the earth as landless vagabonds while they sit in glass towers drinking champagne bought with the blood of your ancestors. Look at your eviction notice taped to your front door right now. Look at the sheriff standing on your porch with a badge and a smirk, throwing your kids' clothes onto the dirty concrete while you scramble for a motel room. That system been had you, and you still sleep, moving like you got time while judgment is already pounding on your stairwell. And if your brother gets so broke down that he has to sell himself to you, Leviticus chapter 25, verse 35 does not give you permission to run him like a plantation boss. And if thy brother be waxing poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him. Yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. Relieve him. Help him up instead of kicking him down. But what do you do on the corner? You step right over your brother bleeding out on the asphalt. You laugh at your cousin strung out on fentanyl. You gossip about your sister losing her kids to the state because you are too damn selfish and puffed up with your own little $200 sneakers and your fake status to lift a finger. Look at your county jail docket. Look at the holding pens packed tight with young Israelite boys caught in a revolving door of poverty and petty crime, while these white-collar crooks in Wall Street boardrooms rob billions and get invited to speak at Harvard. Your brother falls in decay right beside you on this concrete slab, and instead of pulling him up, you snitch on him. You rob him. You treat him like dirt because you swallowed that survival of the fittest garbage straight out of the oppressor's handbook. Take thou no usury of him, or increase, but fear thy God, that thy brother may live with thee. Right there in verse 36. No usury, no predatory interest rates, No payday loan shacks on every single corner of the ghetto, sucking the lifeblood out of our communities with 300% interest. Look at your credit card bill. Look at your payday loan statement, charging you a mortgage payment on a $400 emergency loan. Look at the check cashing spots, bleeding your paycheck dry before you even get to touch physical cash. They built financial traps on every block in your neighborhood, and you walk right into them every damn week like a sheep walking to the slaughterhouse. Verse 37 cuts straight to the bone. Thou shalt not give him thy money upon usury, nor lend him thy victuals for increase. But look at how you treat your own people, charging your sister rent to sleep on your couch, squeezing your brother for gas money when he is out of a job, acting just like the slave masters who taught you how to grind your heel into your neighbor's face. You learned that cruelty on the auction block, and you kept practicing it long after the chains came off the outside of your wrists. Because verse 38 lays down the foundation of who brought you out. I am the Lord your God, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your God. Egypt, the house of bondage, the place where our ancestors made bricks without straw, while the overseers beat their backs raw with leather whips. And you act like you forgot the taste of that mud and blood. You acting brand new, acting like your people didn't spend 400 years sweating under the lash, while you sit in your air-conditioned living room watching reality TV and arguing on social media about whose camp has the best fringe length. Cut it out. Knock it off. Wake your mind up out of that commentary coma. Yah brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, not so we could turn around and set up little mini plantations against each other in the inner cities of America. And if your brother gets so deep in the hole that he has to sell his labor to you to survive, verse 39 commands you. And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxing poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant, not a slave, not chattel, not a piece of property to be bought, sold, and traded like a mule at the county fair. But verse 40 gives the limit. But as an hired servant and as a sojourner, he shall be with thee and shall serve thee until the year of Jubilee. There is a clock on that service. There is an expiration date on that debt. And when that 50th year hits, verse 41 tells you what happens. And then shall he depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return into his own family, and unto the possession of his fathers shall he return. Complete restoration. Every family reunited, every acre returned, every debt wiped out by the sovereign decree of Yah. But try walking into a modern corporate warehouse right now and telling your boss that your labor contract expires at the Jubilee. Look at your shift schedule. Look at your mandatory overtime. Look at your scan gun, tracking every second you spend breathing inside that Amazon fulfillment center where you are worked down to a skeleton for pennies an hour, while some billionaire builds a rocket ship with your sweat. They don't care about jubilees. They care about productivity metrics, profit margins, and quarterly earnings reports that treat human beings like disposable machine parts. Verse 42 seals the identity of who owns you. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. You belong to Yah, not to the state, not to the corporation, not to the plantation, not to the banker holding your mortgage or the judge holding your case file. You belong to the Creator of the ends of the earth. But you sold yourself to Babylon for a steady paycheck and a healthcare plan that barely covers the prescription drugs you need to keep your ruined body functioning. Look at your insurance copay. Look at your prescription bottle filled with pharmaceutical piety that numbs your brain so you don't even have the energy to pick up a book and read what Yah actually commanded. They drugged your children in the public school system with ADHD pills because your boys have too much fire in their spirit to sit still under a whitewashed curriculum designed to turn them into docile factory workers. They diagnosed your babies with behavioral disorders when the only thing wrong with them is that they were born into a cage and their spirit is screaming to get out. And verse 43 lays down the law on management. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shalt fear thy God. No rigor, no sadistic oppression, no grinding people down until their spirit breaks and they give up on life entirely. But look at your probation officer. Look at your parole guidelines. Look at the ankle monitor strapped to your leg, buzzing against your shin every time you take 2 steps outside your approved zone. That is rigor with a digital signature. That is the modern whip and chain, wrapped in ankle plastic and monitored by a satellite in the sky, while a prosecutor sits in an air-conditioned office adding years to your docket for a minor technical violation. You look at your sentencing guidelines, mandatory minimums designed by politicians who write laws specifically to sweep black and brown men into concrete boxes where private prison corporations make a profit off every head count. Look at your public defender, who met you for 3 minutes in the hallway before telling you to sign a plea deal for a crime you didn't even commit, because the whole judicial machine is rigged from top to bottom. And then verse 44 draws the boundary line that these integrationist preachers love to skip over. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thy household shall have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. Yah drew the lines between nations, but you wanted to hold hands with everybody, singing Kumbaya with the very people who bombed your churches, lynched your grandfathers, and redlined your neighborhoods into economic deserts. You swallowed that colonizer doctrine, that pale empire religion that tells you to love everybody indiscriminately, while your own children are starving in the streets and your daughters are being trafficked by the thousands across this wicked land. Look at your niece missing from the street corner. Look at the foster care system swallowing up black and brown children by the hundreds of thousands, while social workers cash checks off their misery. That is the heathen round about us, running a harvesting operation on our bloodline while you sit in your Sunday plantation programming, clapping your hands and shouting hallelujah to a blonde-haired, blue-eyed idol on the stained glass window. Knock it off. Wake your mind up out of that stupor and realize that Yah's laws are precise, his boundaries are real, and his judgment is coming down this concrete corridor like a freight train with no brakes. Now in part 5, we are going to get into how Yah handles the stranger who gets rich off your back while your own brother starves right beside him in the dirt. Part 5, the bondman's chains and the final reckoning. You think the game stops because the Jubilee horn echoes across the dirt? Nah. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 45 drags the ugly truth right out into the glaring 26 sunlight. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. Look at your block right now. Look at these foreign corporations and transnational monopolies moving onto your historic street corners, buying up the abandoned properties, sliding their families and their bloodlines into the storefronts while your grandchildren are pushed out into the alleyways with nowhere to lay their heads. They come into your land, they set up shop on your pavement, and they treat your inheritance like a clearance sale at a department store. You walking past Korean beauty supply shops owned by people who live in gated mansions miles away from the hood, cashing checks off your mamas, buying hair glue and synthetic wigs, while they look at you with open disgust like you a roach on the counter. Look at your corner store, run by folks who don't even know the name of your block, ringing up expired groceries and stale blunt wraps, pocketing your hard-earned cash to send back to their families across the ocean, while your own neighborhood looks like a bummed-out war zone. That ain't multiculturalism. That is foreign occupation on soil that Yah deeded to your ancestors in blood. They built their empires on the margins of your poverty, turning your ancestral turf into a commercial truck stop where every nation under heaven gets fat off your labor while you starve on food stamps and EBT balances that don't even cover a week of groceries. Look at your rent receipts. Look at the lease agreement handed down by landlords whose grandfathers weren't even permitted to breathe the air in this country when your bloodline was already shedding tears in the cotton rows. They bought the land out from under you with blood money capital and predatory loans, and you sitting in your living room watching television like everything is fine, celebrating a culture that has you locked in a permanent tenant class. And then verse 46 hits your chest like a sledgehammer, exposing the generational trap that these colonizers laid for your bloodline. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor. An inheritance of servitude for the heathen. But your own brothers, your own flesh and blood, were never meant to be ground into powder by a ruthless machine of state-sponsored terror. But look at what they did to you instead, turning the entire global economy into a 24/7 plantation where you are the permanent bonded slave without ever signing a contract. Look at your background check sitting in the state database, a digital brand iron tracking every move you make from the cradle to the grave, locking you out of employment, housing, and dignity because of a minor drug conviction from when you were 19 years old, trying to survive in a concrete cage. Look at your public defender, who traded your freedom for a quiet afternoon on the golf course, pushing you to sign a plea deal for 15 years in a maximum security human warehouse where private prison stocks go up every time a black man gets another decade added to his docket. That is modern bondage, wrapped in legal jargon, monitored by ankle bracelets and probation officers who treat your life like a parole violation waiting to happen. You got cops riding down your street like an occupying foreign army, shining flashlights in your windows, slamming your teenage sons against the hood of a cruiser for walking home with groceries, and then shooting them dead in the middle of the intersection and getting paid administrative leave while the mayor gives a press conference about healing the community. Knock it off. Stop believing the bullshit narrative that this is a justice system. It is a harvesting operation designed to grind your children into cheap prison labor while corporations rake in billions off your incarceration. And verse 47 brings the rot right to the front door, showing how the tables got flipped upside down because Israel forgot who the hell they were. And if a sojourner or stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwelleth by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family. Look at your local economy. Look at who owns the gas stations, the beauty supply stores, the laundromats, the corner bodegas, the apartment complexes in your own neighborhoods where your people have lived for 3 generations. The stranger waxes rich right before your eyes, driving foreign cars, sending their kids to private Ivy League universities, building generational wealth on the backs of a community that can't even afford to fix the potholes on their own streets. And your brother, poor, broken, addicted, and drowning in debt, has to sell his labor, his time, his dignity, and his very soul to the stranger's family just to keep the lights on and a box of cereal in the kitchen cabinet. Look at your shift schedule down at the fulfillment center, working 12-hour shifts, scanning boxes for a multinational conglomerate whose CEO makes more money in a minute than your whole family will see in a lifetime, while your knees are giving out and your lower back is screaming from lifting heavy freight. You selling your sweat to a stranger for minimum wage, while they write off your poverty as a tax write-off and call you lazy on cable news. You got brothers working 2 and 3 gig apps just to pay for a tank of gas in a motel room, while the tech monopolies controlling the algorithms rake in trillions off data mined from your suffering. That is the modern slave market, disguised as a free market economy, where your labor is harvested and your blood is drained until you drop dead on the warehouse floor. And then verse 48 and verse 49, throw out the life lie that these pulpits refuse to preach. After that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him. Either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any that is nigh of kin unto him of his family may redeem him. Or if he be able, he may redeem himself. A kinsman redeemer, a blood relative stepping up to pay the debt, to buy back the brother who fell into the trap of the heathen. But where is your family? Where is your community? Scattered to the 4 winds by slave ships and broken down by a system that taught you to hate your own reflection, to despise your own brother, and to trust the state over your own flesh and blood. Look at how they atomize your family structure, putting fathers in prison, mothers on welfare, and children in foster care networks where abuse is treated like protocol. You can't even recognize your own kin because the generational amnesia is so deep, you think your heritage starts with a slave master's census record. But Yah's law of redemption is absolute, and when the Most High steps into this dimension to buy back his scattered Jews, he ain't waiting for the United Nations or the Supreme Court to sign off on the paperwork. He is coming with a strong hand and an outstretched arm to rip every single one of his people out of the grip of these foreign taskmasters. Look at your GoFundMe pages, trying to bury your dead because your cousin died of a preventable disease in a county hospital that refused to treat him without insurance. Look at the despair hanging heavy over your housing project like a toxic cloud, where young men kill each other over imaginary turf because they don't even own the dirt they standing on. The kinsman redeemer is coming, and he ain't coming with a petition. He is coming with a sword. In verse 50 and verse 51, break down the mathematics of captivity, the strict accounting of the years under the boot. And he shall reckon with him that bought him from the year that he was sold to him unto the year of Jubilee. And the price of his sale shall be according unto the number of years. According to the time of an hired servant shall it be with him. If there be yet many years behind, according unto them, he shall give again the price of his redemption out of the money that he was bought for. Count the years of your suffering. Count the centuries of your bondage. Count the generations your family spent scrubbing floors, picking cotton, building railroads, and dying in foreign wars for a flag that has never once protected your women or honored your men. Look at your credit report. Look at your student loan debt hanging over your head like a permanent anchor, keeping you chained to a desk for 30 years just to pay off an education that taught you how to hate your own ancestors and worship your oppressors. Look at your mortgage bondage, your car notes, your medical bills, the entire financial labyrinth designed by international bankers to keep you working until you die in a cubicle. They calculated every hour of your life, monetized your pain, and traded your blood on Wall Street stock exchanges while you fight over scraps in the gutter. But the countdown is ticking down to 0, and the final audit of Babylon's balance sheet is coming due right now in 2026. Every dollar they stole, every life they cut short, every generation they disrupted is being weighed in the scales of heaven, and their account is coming up critically short. In verse 52 and verse 53, show how the pressure tightens as the clock runs out. And if there remain but few years unto the year of Jubilee, then he shall count with him, and according to his years shall he give him again the price of his redemption. and as a yearly hired servant shall he be with him, and the other shall not rule with rigor over him in thy sight. The time is shrinking, the hourglass is almost empty, and the taskmasters can feel their grip slipping away, so they squeezing harder, turning up the heat, tightening the surveillance state, and pushing more poison down your throat through pharmaceutical piety and mass media mind control. Look at your local pharmacy shelves, stocked to the ceiling with synthetic pills for every disease they engineered in their labs to keep you docile, dependent, and medically enslaved from birth to the grave. Look at the algorithmic altars glowing in the hands of your children, feeding them digital poison 24 hours a day to rot their minds, destroy their attention spans, and turn them into compliant drones for the beast system. They ruling over you with digital rigor, tracking every purchase, monitoring every keystroke, and threatening to shut off your bank accounts if you step out of line or speak the truth about who you are. But the scripture says, they shall not rule over you with rigor in the sight of Yah. The Most High is watching every sadistic move they make, every heavy-handed eviction, every corrupt court sentence, every bullet fired into an unarmed man's back by a badge-wearing coward. And when that Jubilee trumpet blows across the sky, their reign of terror comes to a screeching, bloody halt. In verse 54, delivers the absolute emancipation proclamation that every sleeping Israelite needs to hear before the door slams shut. And if he be not redeemed in these years, then he shall go out in the year of Jubilee, both he and his children with him. You don't even have to have the money to buy your way out, because Yah's grace and Yah's power breaks the chains, whether the taskmaster likes it or not. When the Jubilee hits, you and your children walk out of the prison gates, out of the housing projects, out of the slave ship legacy, out of the corporate plantations, and back into the full inheritance of your fathers. Look at your son standing on the corner with a blank stare, looking at a prison cell as his only destiny, because the school district pipeline already labeled him a statistic before he could read. Look at your daughter scrolling through social media, soaking up self-hate from an influencer anointing that tells her everything about her natural body, her natural hair, and her natural heritage is trash. Yah's about to shatter that cage and bring your children back to life, marching them out of this wicked empire with their heads held high and their royal identity restored. No more bail bonds, no more probation officers, no more redlining maps, no more food deserts, no more white Jesus propaganda shoved down your throat in a Sunday morning plantation pew. You walking out free, completely emancipated by the sovereign power of the Most High, while Babylon burns to a crisp in the rearview mirror. In verse 55, the final seal of Leviticus chapter 25 leaves zero room for debate, zero room for compromise, zero room for your fake unity doctrines. For unto me, the children of Israel are servants. They are my servants, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. You belong to Yah and to no one else. You are not the property of America. You are not the property of the Vatican. You are not the property of the international banking cartel. You are not the property of these lying-ass politicians or these prosperity pimp preachers who sold your soul for a church building and a Cadillac. You belong to the creator of the flat earth, the master engineer who spoke reality into existence and wrote your name in the book of life before the foundations of the world were laid. Look at your block one last time. Look at the concrete jungle closing in around you. Look at the police sirens wailing in the distance. Look at the eviction notices piling up on the doors of your people. The system is crumbling. The empire is rotting from the inside out. And the judgment train is roaring down the tracks with no brakes and no mercy. You got a choice to make right here, right now, in 2026. Stay in Babylon and burn with the beast, will drop your chains, pick up your true identity, and stand with Yah when the trumpet sounds its final, deafening blast.
We lay the foundation first. Watch the perimeter, brick by brick. Concrete prayers at 5 a.m. That's the protocol. No shortcuts through the maintenance, no casual protocol. Scripture on the nightstand, Proverbs chapter 3. Boundaries written down where everybody's supposed to see. Accountability group every Thursday at the church. We don't play pretend, we examine the hurt. Brought a spreadsheet of my weakness to the table, no shame. Spoke it into the open so the darkness can't claim. Fortified. Watch the perimeter. Not by my own hand, by his residence. Fortified. Watch the perimeter. These walls got architects beyond what I can see. The mind's a fortress that requires constant renovation. Meditation on the word, that's foundational. One crack in the reasoning and the whole thing corrodes. So I rehearse the promises I've been told. Deleted the apps that kept feeding the itch. Algorithm designed to keep making me switch from the narrow road to the wide road where the traffic is thick. Temptation, don't knock it, just slides through the mix. But I got centuries at the gates of my attention. Meditation on the truth, that's the intervention. When the pressure comes, and the pressure comes, I don't crumble, I consult the blueprint I became. Fortified. Watch the perimeter. Not by my own hand, by his residence. Fortified. Watch the perimeter. These walls got architects beyond what I can see. The sinews of community, that's the real defense. Vulnerability with the ones who know the consequence. If I stumble, they catch me before I hit the ground. That's architecture, that's the sacred sound. Watch the perimeter. Nothing complicated, just the fundamentals. Prayer, discipline, the textbook and the mentals. That's so I'm checking the corners where the rust accumulates. Spiritual hygiene, that's non-negotiable. Wait, every thought examined before it takes the throne.